Welcome to Warn Radio with your hosts, the Watchman Dana Smith and Tower. Thanks for listening.
Greetings in the name of the Lord and welcome to Warn Radio. This is Tower. I'm here with the Watchman and we are glad you joined us. Please send all your prayer requests and correspondence to us through our contact page at warn-usa.com. You can listen to our Warn Radio episodes on danaglennsmith.com and warn-usa.com. Warn Radio is on the following platforms: Amazon Prime Music and Podcast, Spreaker, Blueberry, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play Music, Blog Talk Radio, Podcast Addict, Castbox, Google Podcast, Deezer, Spotify, Anchor, and Pocket Cast. And do not miss the featured post this week of our in-depth biblical articles and radio shows, featured on both warn-usa.com and danaglennsmith.com. God of Chaos, Spirit of Lawlessness. On the Wings of the Wind. Awaken to God's mercy, faith, and grace. And featured on danaglennsmith.com, Prophecy's Long Shadow. And I Am He, Yeshua, to Believe or Not. Featured on warn-usa.com, Cup of Sorrows, Truth of Righteousness. Book of Hebrews, Son of God, Order of Melchizedek, Part 6. Council of Jehovah, Isaiah's Prophetic Book, Part 107. And Pentecost Ecclesia Hebrew Roots Series Classic Warn Radio. And don't miss the weekly shows of the WIBR Warn Radio for Wednesday, May 22nd. The Advocacy Show, Faith and Hope, Redemption, Martyrdom, Death's Door, Unreached People, Gospel of Jesus Christ on Warn Radio. Battle Lines for May 23rd, Thursday. Rebellious People, Father, Isaiah's Prophetic Book, Part 217 on Battle Lines. Fridays, May 24th, Sound the Shofar, The Word, The Redeeming Christ, Part 2. And be sure to get your copy of The Rising. It's a Christian fiction thriller by the Watchman Dana G. Smith, a story of personal survival, the struggle of a nation, and the love of two people, set amid the prophetic landscape of perilous times. Hidden within the storyline of The Rising is the truth of what's happening in America now. Check out The Rising. Get your copy of The Rising on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Ingram, Walmart, Angus & Robertson. And the ebook, The Rising ebook, can be found on Google Play. And you can also get your copy of The Rising by going to danaglennsmith.com, where you can visit our Christian books and resource shop. And we feature The Rising and other Christian books, as well as resources from our Vision Media. And now I welcome in the Watchman.
You're listening to Warn Radio on the WIBR Warn Radio Network. Don't forget to visit our websites at warn-usa.com and danaglennsmith.com. And also follow us on Twitter, find us on Instagram, and join us on LinkedIn.
Dana. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Great. On this wonderful summer night.
Yeah. We finally made it.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, got over 80 today. Now, if you're down in Arizona, you may
Think that'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, in this neck of the woods, 80 is hot. Well, actually, it can get hotter than that, a lot hotter. But at any rate, it is a beautiful summer evening, and we are in June. And we have been on hiatus for a couple of weeks or so. I think that was a couple of weeks, because of certain things that had to be done. And so we got all of that out of the way. And of course, we've been watching both the persecution of the church and what's been going on in America. And nothing has changed. We do have some dynamic articles over on our websites that Tower had read off, and I urge you to go over and read them. And we are known for hard-hitting articles, in-depth articles, and so check them out. And up front, we're going to be talking about one of our articles. We do this as a weekly feature whenever we're doing this show. And this week it's Law, Faith, and Dynamics of the Takeover in Our Nation. Now, the one thing note here is when it was written, Law, Faith, and Dynamics of the what? The takeover in our nation, not of our nation, in our nation. Because the ones that are taking over and trying to change this nation are in this nation and are residents in this nation, and they are politicians, and they are cooperating with globalists. And so that's about the way it is. Law, Faith, and Dynamics of the Takeover in Our Nation. The date today as we prepare to publish this article, now this is when I wrote it, is 2024. "17 years have passed since I first published this particular article. I republished it in 2024. 17 years have passed, and our ministry continues to publish, have radio shows, which we produce. We have our own recording and broadcasting area. But today, America is threatened like never before, and this shouldn't be news to you if you are an American citizen. Even Putin knows what's going on in America, and he's made note of it. And he's also knows that they're trying to get rid of Trump. They're trying to do a lot of things. And I can tell you that part of the culprits are right in our own political arena. They are Republicans. They are Democrats. And that's where we are today. And there's a lot of governors. There's just a lot of stuff going on right now. In honest comparison, what I wrote and warned about at the time of this writing in 2007 is in full-blown overload. As today our leaders have brought America to a point where this nation is no longer the America I used to know. Read the details and read Abraham Lincoln's word of warning. I was pointedly warned by the Lord many, many years ago, and the voice told me America as you know it will cease to exist. But along with these words, I also had 3 visions. I don't talk about the visions much, but that is what happened. I recently told Tower that at the time had come to declare indeed that the America I used to know does not exist. And this is true for a lot of people of our age. And I was in the service during Vietnam. I wasn't in Vietnam. I was stationed, I was on the West Coast and I was on the East Coast. And of course, we did the man overboard drills. I was on a destroyer as a signalman. That's Morse code and lights and flags. And so we knew what the hippie movement was. We knew the issues in the 60s. And it was a very troubled time. But, you know, back in the 60s, most of those would not try to overthrow America like they're doing today. So the America that I used to know does not exist. That's just a simple fact. They have the word America, they have all the accoutrements, but it's nothing like it used to be when we were kids. Now, the future is in doubt, and those fighting to save America are doing it politically and peaceably, but at the same time, gangs and open borders is what's taken this nation down. And when we go through this, it does say take over in. It's not by or anything else. It is in. The overthrow of this nation has been created in this country by so-called pseudo-Americans who today really are globalists. These will stop at nothing to get what they want. One example is George Soros. Now it's Alex Soros. And there's a number of them. So go on over. Let me look at this. You can read this over on DanaGlennsmith.com. How strong is a nation? At what point can its citizens completely trust its government? Today we see violence in the streets of Myanmar that illustrate a people's attempt to bring justice to its nation. It is a point where military strongmen rule the nation. At some point in the past, its citizens were disarmed and overpowered, and that is why the Democrats over and over again want to disarm Americans. And the minute you're left without the ability to defend yourself or your country, you're going to eat out of the hands of a military strongman or a biased group of people who want to run the country their own way instead of freedom. Thus a nation, even with the best of interests, cannot survive wicked and tyrannical men in power. When our forefathers came to this shore of America, they knew tyrants and diabolical government excesses. It was in Europe where the kings of old ruled, bringing men face to face with evil. In corridors of power, the reins of kings wielded unbending will. Our forefathers came to this country, in part, to get away from despair, heartache, and oppression. This was the strength of the New